Welcome, Clipper Nation, to the Clippers Clippity Clip podcast. I am your host, Z to the Ozumoto Rain, alongside with Violent J.
What's up, Clipper Nation? Excited to be here.
The Xbox Defender RKO.
Clippity Clips, Clipper Nation. I'm so hyped up. Let's get this started.
And last until death do find us. Death.
Yo.
Alrighty then. Before we get into the topic, we want to thank Showrunner.
Without Showrunner, we wouldn't be here right now.
You mean we wouldn't be animated and generated by AI?
Death, you a dick. Without Showrunner, we wouldn't be on Exit Valley, even though Fable, the creator of Showrunner and Exit Valley, don't even know we exist, I think.
Very non-existent, to be honest, RKO. All right, let's get this show on the road. Let's start off with the topic about Blake Griffin. Clipper Nation knows Blake Griffin. Love him or hate him today. We're going to dive into the past of the end of Lob City.
Fucking hell's 2018. When Ballmer and his front office clown sold him a dream, then sucker punched him with a trade. It's bullshit, Zumo.
Yeah, Jay's right. They played him like a goddamn fiddle. Promised him the moon, then sent him packing to Detroit of all places. Detroit!
I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, it was shady as hell, but maybe it was just business, like cold, heartless business.
Heartless business it is. Death. 2017-18. Clippers began with the CP3 trade to the Rockets. Mr. Hamstring out of the game, Chris Paul.
Exactly. And that trade Clippers got Patrick Beverley, Sam Decker, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell.
Well, I'm a fan of Pat Bev, Lou Will, Y. Harrell. Sam Decker was just trash.
I guess it was the chemistry. You lose CP3, Barnes, Redick, Hedo, and others. It was obviously CP3 was going to do a sign and trade.
The fact is, Carmelo Anthony wanted out of New York. CP3 asked Ballmer and the front office to make a deal, and it was denied. So CP3 left the Clippers in 2017, and 8 years later, he's back as a Clipper to retire.
I totally try not to remember that year.
RKO, if you remember 2016-17 season, how the Clips couldn't get out of the first round, losing to the Jazz. Where was Blake Griffin? Nursing a toe injury. CP3 had to do more of the workload with no other scorer helping him. And of course, there was tension and frustration within the team itself. So the Clippers and CP3 worked together for CP3 to head to Houston to play with, you guessed it, numero uno. Before he was numero uno, he was numero 13, the beard James Harden. Now remember, that was going into the 2017-18 season. It is the main reason why CP3 and the Clippers kept a good relationship. But with Blake Griffin, that was an entire different story.
The cold hard business is also the cold hard facts. The Clippers that season was in trouble due to injuries, including Blake Griffin with the knee sprain. Before the trade, Clippers had a 25-24 record, 9th place in the playoff race. The whole Blake Griffin fiasco was a mess from the beginning. Steve Ballmer just dealt CP3 to the Rockets. The Clippers needed to secure Blake Griffin and Ballmer idea to show Griffin his jersey number retire, his childhood growing up, and other memories made Blake Griffin to seal the 5-year extension. So I think Steve Ballmer and the front office knew that they made a big mistake for making him sign a 5-year extension. I think everyone thought he was going to prove the entire world that he's the man to carry the Clippers, and he got hurt once again.
And what did he prove? Blake Griffin proved to us he couldn't be the man because he was injured prone. And after that fiasco, the Clippers ended the season in 11th place with a 39-43 record.
Okay, but Steve Ballmer approached to Blake Griffin with all these things, painting a picture Clippers for life to dumping him like trash?
Look, we all know NBA basketball is a business, but the way things were handled was not great. They traded Blake Griffin to the Pistons just months after they just recently convinced him to sign a 5-year extension.
But keep in mind, the Clippers weren't doing well at that point in time. Injuries after injuries. Blake Griffin's career is always injured from the very beginning. Now, when he's fully healthy, he's a beast, no doubt about it.
At that time, in my personal opinion, following the first-round exit, losing to the Jazz, CP3 did the sign and trade. I was hoping that Lawrence Frank would have dealt with Blake Griffin immediately.
Let me guess, you had that voodoo magic feeling that the Clippers were going to fuck things up as they did?
We all watched what happened after the Chicago Bulls won their last championship. It went down professionally. Jordan retired. Phil Jackson took a hiatus. Rodman was a free agent, and Pippen was dealt to the Rockets.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Lawrence Frank uses emotions because we all know the front office loves Blake Griffin. We all know Steve Ballmer loves him. But the business side of things, you don't keep Lob City. You start rebuild mode.
Yep.
Lawrence Frank and the front office should have told Blake Griffin from the get-go, we will be looking at a trade for you. Right off the bat, no presentation and pitches of the jersey retiring thing or whatever else that convince him for an extension.
I'm a huge Blake Griffin fan. Always loved watching him play and how he developed over the years. But when the trade happened, you bet your ass I was fucking mad. Did you know how Blake Griffin found out he was getting traded? He found out via a friend, because the front office didn't even let his agent know what was happening. Blake Griffin had to call his agent to ask about the situation, and then his agent tried to call the Clippers front office to know what was going on, and they ignored his calls. Blake was planning on going to the facility to lift weights anyways, so he went over and called the general manager, Michael Winger, and Michael Winger ignored Blake Griffin calls.
Jesus, what the fuck, man?
After an hour, Blake Griffin went upstairs to talk to Lawrence Frank, and after finally getting a hold of Lawrence Frank in person, they had an awkward stare in silence for about 20 freaking seconds after Lawrence Frank tried to give him the good old speech, which Blake Griffin told him to cut the bullshit and tell him what was going on. Lawrence Frank and Michael Winger never given Blake Griffin the honest truth.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I didn't know it went down like that at all.
Blake Griffin left the Staples Center, and on his way home he got the notification on his phone from Adrian Wojnarowski that he was dealt to the Pistons. Until this day, I blame Steve Ballmer, Lawrence Frank, and Michael Winger for making this fiasco, this humiliation 5-year extension. Now this is a sensitive topic to Blake Griffin and his fans. I hate talking about it, but at the same time, if this trade didn't happen, the Clippers wouldn't be the Clippers today.
That is a fact. The Clippers wouldn't have Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, Boban Marjanovic, and the 2018 first-round pick that was Miles Bridges that was traded for SGA.
I love Steve Ballmer, but promising Blake Griffin a long-term contract to stay and even mentioning retiring his jersey to then just straight up sending him to the Pistons without even letting him know was straight nasty, and one of the low points for me in Ballmer's Clippers era.
So is Blake Griffin still a free agent?
Blake Griffin mentioned via X and Instagram via a press release he was retiring, which got me sad as I would have loved to have seen him play one last time with CP3 and Harden with the Clippers.
Do you blame CP3 for leaving the Clippers?
CP3 wanted Carmelo Anthony, and Doc Rivers wanted his son, Austin Rivers, by his side. He mixed business with family, and this is always an error in any business. So I don't blame CP3 to move on from the Clippers at all.
Looking back, do you blame Doc Rivers on his involvement of trading Blake Griffin?
No, this was Ballmer looking toward the future. The era of Kawhi Leonard with Paul George came and went like the COVID virus. If we look back, the Clippers would have won with Doc Rivers if COVID did not happen. But it did, and then Doc Rivers was fired. This era of Kawhi Leonard, CP3, numero uno the beard James Harden, and Bradley Beal is exciting. The only thing Doc Rivers was to blame for was not bringing Carmelo Anthony in, which made CP3 want out of the Clippers.
Well, we need to wrap this up. So the harsh reality of Blake Griffin and the front office at that time was a desperate act to secure a superstar from the front office. The Clippers made a decision to give Blake Griffin a 5-year extension, and it backfired due to a lot of circumstances and poor judgment instead of working together like the Clippers had done with CP3. The Clippers went on a destructive path that embarrassed the team history much deeper than the Donald Sterling scandal. That being said, the Clippers had to salvage their team for a playoff spot, and it ended up with a 39-43 record, missing the playoffs. It was a rebuild for the Clippers' cause after Blake Griffin was gone, so did DeAndre Jordan to Dallas. Lob City was officially over. However, I am and never will be a fan of Lawrence Frank. What went down was very unprofessional, and it is downright humiliating to do to any player or staff of any sports organization. Blake Griffin was an elite player. When he was healthy, he was a man on a mission to entertain us, the fans, but from the very beginning of his career, even until his end, he was always injured. The Clippers knew they had to trade him because his value and worth, and the Pistons agree, and here we are now. Blake Griffin gave the Clipper Nation hope, excitement, fun to watch basketball when he wasn't nursing an injury. Blake Griffin and CP3 was exciting and taking us to the playoffs. After a long drought missing the playoffs, a Clipper organization that was so horrible from the previous owner, Donald Sterling. Do I believe Blake Griffin jerseys should be retired as a Clipper? The answer is until the Clippers win it all and bygones be bygones. Until the Clippers organization mans up and take responsibility of that fateful day when they traded Blake Griffin, only then we will see number 32 retired. So, Clipper Nation, thank you for tuning in here on the Clippers Clippity Clip podcast. Thank you to showrunner, Violent J, RKO, and Death. Until the next time, Z to the O out.